Africa, Middle East, all of it, the places where things are happening, the places where they aren't happening. These people face really harsh conditions. They're living under brutal, repressive, murderous dictatorships, but they're doing things. I mean, we live in freedom, got all kind of opportunities. I mean, if you're, say, a dissident, you can get vilified, but you're not going to get thrown into jail and tortured. It's quite a difference. You don't have security forces smashing up attempts at demonstrations, as happened in Saudi Arabia yesterday. You don't have to face Mubarak's thugs, but they're doing things. The April 6th movement, the labor movement that it grew out of, which is again active, are introducing serious changes. Okay, that a fortiori, that can be done anywhere if people are willing to do it. So hope is everywhere.
Okay, this is a really long question.
It'll be a short answer.
But it's a good one, I think. It comes from Joseph Sweetman. He says, in Bertrand Russell's History of Western Philosophy, he states that, quote, the modern world at present seems to be moving towards a solution like that of antiquity. The social order imposed by force, representing the will of the powerful rather than the hopes of common people. The problem of a durable and satisfactory social order can only be solved by combining the solidity of the Roman Empire with the idealism of St. Augustine's City of God. To achieve this, a new philosophy will be needed. Then it goes on, how do you view efforts such as Michael Albert's participatory economics to think carefully about what institutions are necessary to bring about a more cooperative and equitable social order? And it goes on, and to what degree do you think experimenting and developing participatory institutions can help produce the kind of democratic culture that a mass movement for a participatory society needs? Is that clear?
That's a plug for the people at the very bottom of that poster there. ZNet, that's where it comes from. Must be a ZNet participant. Mike Albert's an old close friend, back from the days when he was a student radical who revolutionized MIT, still today. And the participatory economics, these are interesting ideas about how to organize a society with direct participation in all institutions. It's along with the participatory economics, there's a side movement called parapolitics, participatory politics. That one's organized mostly by his friend Steve Shallon, also a former MIT student who participated in the 60s, really shaking the place up. And these are interesting ideas, certainly worth pursuing. I mean, they come out of a long tradition of left Marxism and anarchism, which was highly critical of the Bolshevik Revolution, as which they regarded as a kind of right-wing, autocratic movement that was intended to and succeeded in destroying socialism. I think that's correct. And called for workers' councils and industry, popular communities. In the United Kingdom, one version of it, there are many versions. One was G.D.H. Cole's Guild Socialism, also worked out some similar ideas. So there's a long tradition in the anarchist tradition, extensive. And occasionally there's been successes in implementing elements of this. The most important one was in revolutionary Spain in 1936, crushed by the combined forces of fascism, communism, and liberal democracy. They disagreed about a lot, but they agreed on destroying the revolution. Mike Albert, Steve Shallon, and Robin Hannell, economist who's worked on this, have worked out in considerable detail a particular version of how this might proceed. Well, it's certainly worth thinking about, and the efforts make sense. You can ask, and I do ask, we can kind of argue about this, whether the prescriptions are too detailed. again, there's a long-standing debate in the left tradition about this. If you read Marx, for example, you discover that he said almost nothing about a post-capitalist society. There's a couple of sentences scattered through his work about, you fish in the morning, in the afternoon, kind of boilerplate. But he didn't say anything about post-capitalist societies for a reason. He thought that the structure of a post-capitalist society would have to be determined by the participation of the working class when they had achieved, in his view, control over the society. And he didn't say that, but I assume the background thinking is there's just too much we don't understand. I agree with that. And the answers will have to be discovered experimentally by trying to organize more participatory systems, which can be done right now in pieces and seeing how they work. Do we know, for example, whether it's possible for, as Albert Hanel shall believe, it's possible for information about production, say, to be made available to the democratically functioning workforce in real time, so they can make sensible decisions. Or, for example, would it be necessary or valuable to allow for the kind of that does exist in markets to an extent? They're information systems. They give the information of what should be produced. That doesn't have to be associated with remuneration. It doesn't have to be associated with control, with giving orders or anything like that. Just another information. It can be viewed as another information system. Well, that's a technical question. What's the answer? Nobody knows. You have to try it and see. Try bits and pieces and see. And the same is true of other kinds of social organization. In any event, there is a division of opinion that goes way back as to the detail in which it makes sense to try to describe what a future society should be like. Paracon and parapolitics think you can do it in great detail. Others are more skeptical. It doesn't have much implication for action. Either way, you try and see. And it can be done in small pieces. And leading anarchist theorist Bakunin used to say that we can create the germs of the future in the present society. You don't have to wait until there's some massive revolution. In fact, that's the way to create revolutionary change, develop bits and pieces of it in ordinary life, from family life to production units to other institutions to international society. Very concrete things that can be done with maybe a long-term goal rather like that.
Thank you. Nice to hear you mention G.D.H. Cole. G.D.H. Cole you mentioned. There's a very nice story about Margaret Thatcher, who was visiting Cole's college. And this was just after the miners' strike of 1983. And one of the slogans of that strike was "Coal, not dole." And she was being shown around the college by the master, who had some sort of left-leaning sympathies. And he pointed to the portrait of Cole and said, "That's one of our alumni, G.D.H. Dole." And she corrected him. She said, "No, Cole, not Dole." Cleverly done. Anyway, another question, which comes from Samantha Rilla. And the question is, do you think that these protests in the Middle East, especially that of Egypt, will affect successful permanent change? Or do you think that after a few months, the inspiration